At the Toronto International Film Festival, while promoting his documentary, Sylvester Stallone opened up about his lasting thoughts on Cobra. He even teased the idea of a Cobra TV spin-off, though whether it'll actually happen is still up in the air. Cobra, which could get a TV series, was Stallone's take on a Dirty Harry-style character, from the gritty morals of the lead role to casting Dirty Harry actors like Andrew Robinson and Rennie Sannon in supporting roles. Stallone also suggested Jake Gyllenhaal as the perfect choice for the role, praising his ability to bring out a dark intensity, like he did in Nightcrawler. So, let's dive into everything we know about Cobra 2 and what the future holds for the franchise. For those who aren't familiar, Cobra is a 1986 American action drama directed by George P. Cosmatos and written by Sylvester Stallone, who also stars as the lead character. The movie is loosely based on a novel, A Running Duck by Paula Gosling, which was later republished as Fair Game and turned into a 1995 film. Alongside Stallone, the film features Rennie Sannon, Bridget Nealon, and Andrew Robinson. In Cobra, Stallone plays Los Angeles Police Lieutenant Marion "Cobra" Cabretti, a tough cop who investigates a series of violent crimes while protecting a key witness targeted by the bad guys. It's the last movie Stallone and Nealon worked on together after Rocky IV, before their real-life divorce a year later. Interestingly, Cobra was also inspired by Stallone's original script for Beverly Hills Cop. Despite receiving negative reviews for its excessive violence and reliance on action movie cliches, Cobra was a box office hit and has since become a cult classic. After a long period of silence regarding the Cobra spin-off, Stallone recently opened up about his thoughts on the film while promoting his documentary Sly at the Toronto International Film Festival. Reflecting on the movie, Stallone admitted that Cobra felt half-baked and that he could have done a better job with it. He expressed regret over not directing it himself, saying, "Cobra to me was half-baked. I could have done better, but I wasn't concentrating enough. I felt as though that's something I should have directed and I didn't, and I regret that." He went on to joke about the process of making movies, saying, "Aside from watching your hairline recede, you go, God, why didn't I try harder?" Though Cobra was criticized and received bad reviews, it wasn't the first time Stallone's films faced poor critical reception. Before his rise to fame with Rocky, Stallone appeared in several low-rated action films like Death Race, 2000, and Capone. In some ways, Cobra marked a return to form for Stallone, who was already making a name for himself as both an actor and a writer by the mid-80s. By 1986, Stallone had proven himself as a capable director, having written and directed Rocky II, III, and IV, along with Staying Alive in 1983. Despite not directing Rocky itself, he had gained significant experience behind the camera, which might have been enough to elevate Cobra had he taken the reins. If Cobra had been reworked into a streaming TV series, Stallone might have had another chance to reimagine the character. But with no updates on that project, it seems like the actor will have to live with the regret of not directing the film. Nonetheless, his reflections on Cobra hint that in another universe, it could have been a much different and possibly better experience. As the idea of a Cobra series continues to gain attention, rumors have begun circulating about potential casting choices, and one name that has surfaced is Jake Gyllenhaal. While Stallone has previously hinted that the series could move forward without his involvement, some fans have speculated that Gyllenhaal could step into the iconic role of Lieutenant Marion "Cobra" Cabretti, especially given his proven ability to play intense, dark characters. Gyllenhaal's performance in films like Nightcrawler, where he portrayed an obsessive and morally ambiguous character, has led many to believe he could embody the kind of gritty, non-nonsense cop that Cobra represents. In fact, Stallone himself mentioned Gyllenhaal as someone who has a dark side and could bring the necessary intensity to the role. If Cobra were to be reimagined in the modern era, this aligns well with the character's tough, lone wolf persona, making Gyllenhaal an intriguing choice for the role. The potential casting of Gyllenhaal would signal a shift in direction for the Cobra franchise, bringing in a new generation of talent to reboot the story. With his diverse acting range and established career in both action and psychological thriller roles, Gyllenhaal could easily step into Cobra's shoes, possibly even updating the character for a more contemporary audience. Whether or not these rumors materialize remains to be seen, but Gyllenhaal's involvement would certainly create a buzz around the series, especially if Stallone's earlier comments about being long gone from the project hold true. On the flip side, there is still a possibility of Cobra 2 happening, with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger finally sharing the screen in a major clash. Fans of 80s action films have long wanted the two iconic stars to face off on screen, especially during the peak of their careers when their rivalry was in full force. The bitter competition between Stallone and Schwarzenegger throughout the 80s and 90s was legendary. Whether it was over their physiques, salary demands, or the size of their explosions, these two were constantly trying to outdo each other in every way imaginable. But what audiences really wanted to see was them teaming up or battling it out in the same film. In the prime of their careers, a collaboration between Stallone and Schwarzenegger would have been a box office smash. However, it was never meant to be. Both actors were commanding huge paychecks and had a significant amount of control over their respective projects. This would have made it difficult to navigate who would get top billing, who would have the higher body count, or even whose character would survive at the end. It was a conflict of egos that made a joint project nearly impossible back in the day. Today, after years of rivalry, the two stars have mended their relationship and even appeared together in movies like the Expendables series. But back in the 80s, the idea of seeing Stallone and Schwarzenegger on screen together was nothing more than a fantasy. Schwarzenegger's career had skyrocketed with The Terminator and Commando, cementing his position as an action star. This came just after the release of Rambo, First Blood Part 2, which had made Stallone an even bigger star. Interestingly, it's rumored that after seeing Rambo 2, the creator of Commando made a conscious decision to give Schwarzenegger's character, Matrix, an even bigger body count to rival Stallone's character. In 1986, Stallone followed his Rocky IV and Rambo 2 successes with Cobra, where he played the titular tough cop. The film pits his character against a brutal cult of serial killers led by the terrifying Night Slasher, played by Brian Thompson. However, what many don't know is that Schwarzenegger was actually offered the role of the Night Slasher first, but he turned it down, citing that he felt his own career was on the rise and that Cobra was clearly Stallone's movie. According to Schwarzenegger, "I didn't think I would be done justice, so I stayed away from it." This could have been a pivotal moment for both actors to finally share the screen, but at that time, their egos and career trajectories simply weren't in alignment. It's a missed opportunity that could have given us a legendary on-screen clash much earlier than the Expendables. But perhaps the timing just wasn't right for the two titans to team up. Now, decades later, fans are still left to imagine what could have been. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.